It is Friday. We made it another day. I hope you spent some time with God. I hope you prayed. I hope you're on your way to the gym. Maybe not so much because it's so early, but go to the gym, got your food packed, got your day planned. You're in it to win it, right? It's the first win of the day, the morning gym routine, your meditation, your prayer, all that stuff. You gotta program yourself to do that every day, because if not, you'll have a lucky streak, and then you won't do it. And that's one thing that I'm really big on. I do the same thing every day. I get up, I drink all my vitamins, I slam of water, I drink all my stuff, my apple cider vinegar, just everything. And I try to get my day started. Drink my coffee after I got stuff in my stomach. And get to the gym and work. I mean, what makes it better today than it was, I guess you could say, when I first got out, because when I first got out, I hated working. I hated having to get up early. In other words, being responsible. You know, I got used to making that easy money for a while, and made me lazy. And made me how can I say it? It's crazy because in moments like, I guess you could say, of despair, I've managed to educate myself and things, and move forward, and just evolve, get better with time, or survive. Like when I moved down here to Arizona, I came down here with a grip load of money, but like I said, my addictions were amplified once I got here, because there was nobody to watch me. So I was at the strip club every day. I was at the massage parlors every day. I was getting high every day. I blew through probably close to 140 in a couple of months when I moved down here. When I moved down here, the first area I was in, I was over there by Indian School in the I-17. I was staying at the Sheraton Hotel, and back then there was a strip club on Indian School. There was another one on Camelback, and there was a bunch of massage parlors all up and down the whole west side. And my addictions went through the roof, sex, and drugs. I wasn't even making no money no more, because there was no one to make money with over here, because I didn't know nobody when I first moved down here. And then by the time I started to meet people, it was already too late. I was too far gone in my addiction. Like, I was used to, being in and out of jail. I was used to getting high. I was used to a lot of bad stuff. Toxic relationships, just having babies without even, thinking of their future. Very, very different JC back then. Yeah. But, I ran out of money, and I guess you could say I didn't like panic or nothing. I just said, okay, so I need to get a job. I've had jobs. I've had a lot of jobs. It's just they haven't lasted very long, because some of the main reasons why I would go and get a job would be because I wasn't, and this is when I was young, I wasn't selling drugs. Either I just got out of prison, or just something happened. Because when I was younger, most of the times I would get jobs just so I could go and buy drugs to start selling again. Like I would save up to buy a couple pounds, and once I got the pounds, I would quit my job and start selling full time again. I was an entrepreneur at a very young age. At a very young age, I started seeing how much you can make with weed when you would break down a pound into dime bags. And that's how I started that career, but there was times where either I would lose it or get robbed or just something would happen and I would have to get a job and start all over again. I worked at the Olive Garden. I worked at Burger King. I worked in construction. I worked in drywall. I worked in all kinds of places. The jobs that I had to do here in Arizona when I moved out here, it was different because when I got down here and I pretty much turned into a drug addict, I had no self-confidence. So, I would go and apply for these like real rinky-dinky jobs that, most people that are doing them are illegals. I mean, I'm just being honest. They're paying like $9 an hour. And it just made it worse because I felt like, wow, like this is where you end up. This is you. But now, man, I've always, no matter how bad I got beat up, I would always get back up and ask for more. I guess because I'm hard-headed. But I would rise to the occasion, like when I moved out here. My first job was U-Haul. It's a little too embarrassing for me. Like it was me right off the big wig bus, like the big. I thought I was a big drug dealer. I had already had a restaurant and a house in Chicago and everything. So now I'm working at U-Haul, checking trucks in. And I'm not saying there's nothing bad with that job at all. I'm just saying, for me, it was a ego bruiser and really got me depressed. I really started using a lot of drugs. After that, I got the job at the construction company doing street lights, and that's where I seen potential to grow, and I made my move, and it was a good move. I learned how to drive every heavy equipment you could possibly think of, from loaders, trackers, trenchers, I mean everything. Water trucks, drillers, everything. I learned how to drive everything. And I got certified in pretty much everything that OSHA had to offer. They made me the superintendent. I've told this story before. I have really big jobs under my belt here in Arizona that I did because I got really good at my job, and most of the old school inspectors for like SRP and APS, those are like the electrical companies down here in Arizona, they would not let the job get started if I wasn't on site. Like I was very liked by the inspectors, and that's a big deal in the construction world, because without them inspecting and saying, yeah, it's good to go, we can't cover it up with dirt. So I got really good. I had a record. I could stand up 19 streetlight poles in one day. That was my record, from scratch, drilling the holes to wiring the poles to standing them up, heads, adjusting them, everything. 19 poles. So I started getting paid pretty good. I was getting paid, I think, $2,000 a week. Company truck, company car. Sorry. But yeah, it was a great job that I probably would have advanced even more if I wouldn't have had my bad habits, my drug and alcohol and just unstable habits, because that's what I'm learning now today. And I know it's crazy. I'm 48 years old, but just now am I learning steps to be stable. people think it's a joke, but it's like this has been a big year for me, from learning how to pay my bills, bank accounts, even like balancing my stuff to know like what's going out, what's coming in. Has been a learning experience for me, but it's been fulfilling. Obviously, I left it to last to learn because I really didn't care for it. I really didn't. It didn't excite me as much as like training and stuff like that. So that's why I've been out for 6 years now. 6 years, 6 years, and talk about survival. 6 years, but out of those 6 years, only 2 have been stable. Those first 4 years, I was very unstable. I was in different relationships. I was on federal probation. I was getting dropped every week. I was struggling to pick up clients. Child support wanted me to pay, like, I don't know, this crazy amount of money. Just, you have it. I'm like, no, I just got out of prison. It's like, but it was crazy because like I had to fight, even though I was getting beat up so bad, because I didn't know how to live. I had no peace. I had no joy. And man, was I angry. I was angry because every day I was thinking, man, like, I lost all that time in prison. Now I'm old. So, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to retire? Because I see old people and I get scared because I see a lot of old guys in prison die. And learning to not worry about stuff I can't change, learning to be joyful in moments that are not. I mean, all these things were skills that I learned as I matured and got better. Not only in my walk, but in life in general. Like, life. I have big plans that I feel that God has put in my heart. And, prison work and youth work and just motivating men that have been, I guess you could say, just handed a bad hand and just been through stuff. That's who I want to work with. That's who I want to motivate. That's who I want you to jump in the Suburban and see that, we could change this. This ain't the end of the story. Like, this is just the change, where you bump the guy that was writing your story and you start writing it. You start making those decisions and thinking of the consequences of your decisions, like pausing, thinking, pondering. All those things are skills that can be learned. Getting up, fixing your sleep clock, eating properly, working out. I get people all the time that've never worked out a day in their life, and by the time I'm done with them, they love working out. They love dieting. My client right now, my poster child client, he's ripped now. He was overweight, obese, never worked out a day in his life. All he liked to do was make money. Now he has a six-pack. Now he has biceps, shoulders, a chest. And he keeps saying he can't believe it, but, anything is possible, but you have to want it. And you have to, like, I guess you could say dream about it. Almost like, just like you spent all that energy chasing those drugs, you should spend the same amount of energy chasing your dreams. My dreams were to go back to the system, go back to the neighborhood, and show people, hey, I made a couple mistakes. I wasn't educated at all these things, but look, change is possible. I can change things around, but we have to give it time. Like, you have to put in the work. You can't just expect to get better. Like, I tell people, I meet a lot of people that just go to AA meetings, just show up. That's all they do. And yeah, it keeps them sober for a little while, sometimes a year, 2 years, 3 years, but eventually something happens. And that's why, like, skills need to be learned. Like, you can't be an alcoholic, right? This is how I look at it. At the beginning, maybe yes, okay? But this is just my personal thought. Being an alcoholic and being terrified to even walk anywhere because you're going to see alcohol is not a way of living. Like, having to run to a meeting, I get it because you're having urges or whatever, but the thing is that they teach you skills for you to catch yourself if you're heading that route. They tell you, call your sponsor, show up to a meeting. They have all these skills and tools that they teach you in order for you to stay sober. But like they say, you have to work it for it to work. But it works. I'm a firm believer. But this is the thing that people don't, the big picture is that it's all God that's changing your heart. It's God that's changing the way you feel and think, and it's the reason why you stop drinking. Because you learn to forgive, you learn to love yourself, and you feel loved. Trust me, I've been around those meetings since I was 1988 is when I went to my first AA meeting. and and that's why I tell people I'm a firm believer in my walk. I'm a firm believer of what Jesus Christ did for me. Because I've tried everything under the sun. I told you guys, I'm a survivor. I survive. I get through. I make it. That's why my bosses loved me. They would just tell me what needed to get done, and I would just get it done. No phone calls, no nothing. Just when it was done, it was done. But it's been interesting. I can't lie. It's been interesting. It's been a hell of a ride, for real. Like, I feel that my life was like a big old movie with action, romance, comedy, like everything. A lot of people don't know this about me, but as a kid, I was so lost that either I was trying to start my own gang or I was just trying to be part of a gang. and I was always like one of the guys in front. Like, I can't say I was the leader because there was no, we weren't like that. Like, it was me, Shorty, Ernie, Dean, David, Chocolate, Jessica. It was just a bunch of kids, but I can't explain it. Like, everybody had something special. Everybody had a gift. Whether that was good at fighting or whatever it was. Everybody had something. And we rode together as a unit. And we were, yeah. So I was always one of the main dudes. Like, yeah, getting everybody into trouble. So we were young. I forgot how old we were, and 59 was like up for grabs. Like, I mean, gang wise. The Kings were on 51st, Crown Town. They've had that for years, like years. I want to say from the 80s. They've had Crown Town from 51st. I want to say Kedzie, almost sometimes Pulaski, all the way down to Western. Crown Town. 59 was up for grabs. It was right in the middle of the Ambrose and 26 being on 63rd. So that was in the time where a lot of the SDs had moved. A lot of the SDs from Kaminsky had moved to 59 and Cicero. They had all moved into different areas. This is where the SDs really, like, I guess you could say, grew. But I'll get back to that. So 59 was up for grabs. So there was this insane Deuce. I think his name was Bam Bam. I think he passed away already. But there was this insane Deuce from the north side that lived right on 59th. And I forgot where. It's where Chocolate lived, but I don't remember the it was past Troy, I know that much. Sacramento. 59 Sacramento. He was from the north side. Bam Bam. And he started befriending me because I was always out there on the street. And he was like, look, we should start, a branch of Insane Deuces right here on 59. If you get, all your little buddies to turn, I'll give you this gun. And I think he gave me like 2 ounces of weed. And, you can start selling and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just saw the opportunity. I didn't really even think about the gang or nothing. I just saw the opportunity to make some money, come up. So I went back to the guys, and I don't know, somehow I ended up convincing them. I think the drugs, the weed, and the gun, most of all, we were all trigger happy back then. And we all turned Insane Deuces, but Shorty was pissed because Shorty came from a line of SDs from 51st and Wood, his cousins, and he wanted to be an SD, like he wanted to be an SD, just like Looney and David. All their brothers and whoever they knew were SDs from Kaminsky. So I think we lasted about maybe a week or 2 as Deuces. And then everybody was like, nah, what are we doing? Because all our friends were SDs. So we went back to Bam Bam's house and got out. Got our violations out. I was the worst. I was the one that got beat up the worst because he was just pissed that I just didn't want to be part of that gang. He beat me up with a 4x4. Like, it was pretty bad. And we just, I took it because it just that I didn't want no bad blood, and I wanted to do things like the right way. We ended up turning SDs that same night, and 59 and Spalding started. Man, there's a lot of us that are not around no more, and there's a lot of us that are not coming home no more ever. And I guess this message is for the shorties that are out there now, because they're still out there. It's not a life. It's not a life. And trust me, you can ask anybody doing time for a life how they feel. And the guilt, the remorse, all that stuff eats you up, and it catches up with you with time. So it's almost like you go from trying to be this tough guy to, I guess, a person with a lot of demons, a person with a lot of guilt. And if you don't feel guilt, then you're probably a serial killer. But it's just not worth it, man. And I laugh about it because, like, it's right there in front of you. You see all the death. You see all the like all the bad stuff that it leaves behind. But that's the thing. Like, I can only show you with how I live, because I would be a hypocrite because I lived that life, and I can only give you advice and tell you it's not going to end well. It's not. And I could tell you how it can end well. I could tell you how to make adjustments so you could learn a skill to change. I could teach you skills. You know, one of the biggest things with me, I have to believe, is that I was very uneducated in my whole life. I didn't read, nothing. And once I learned how to read a little bit, once I learned that I wasn't as dumb as people had made me out to, they made me believe that I was, like, I actually started thriving a little bit. I started reading, I got my GED, I got a couple of college courses. It started to change me, and I started to feel just different. When you start to feel like you're winning, like you have a purpose, like things are meant to go well for you, you start to see life different. But these are all skills that you can learn, and I say that with a straight face. I had to learn to be normal. And what is normal, right? Because everybody's messed up. We live in a very broken world. What is normal? But I had to learn, and this was quick. I had to learn how to be a husband. I had to learn how to be a father, because God started putting people back in my life so fast that I had just barely learned to heal myself. I had just learned to not swear. I had just learned all these new skills, and then more stuff started happening. So I had to be like on the HOV lane to fast. But I give Jesus all the glory, because it is through them that I keep changing and evolving, not only through skills, but skills, because that's what Psalms and Proverbs and reading scripture does. It teaches you how we're supposed to live. It's a manual of life. Now, other skills that you have to learn, especially if you've been on the streets or in prison, is emotional skills. It's not the end of the world. And you can be joyful in dark moments. You can. You learn. It's a skill that you learn. And my whole life from this year on is going to be dedicated to teaching young men, young men like me, teenage men, and grown men. Because there is a better way. There is a way to survive. There is hope. And change is possible. If I could change, anybody could change, because this is the thing. I did a podcast the other day, and after hearing all my crazy stories, I even threw a crazy story that nobody had heard about me and Valerie, the twins' wife, when we were young. Her boyfriend tried to kill me. He literally tried to kill me. He went to stab me in the heart with a big old knife. And if I wouldn't have had a metal chair, one of those folding chairs, in my hand, he would have killed me. He thought that I was messing around with Val, when all Val was doing was keeping me off the streets. She was letting me stay in her basement because it was like below zero and snowing outside. You know, I was young. I was 16 years old, maybe 15. But after saying all those crazy stories, the only thing he caught, he said, JC, I noticed that you don't swear. And I was like, well, I try to not swear. I'm not saying I'm perfect. It's a new skill that I've developed with time, you know, this whole 2 years. But I learned, first of all, I learned that profanity is profanity, point blank. It doesn't sound cool. It only sounds cool to kids. It only sounds cool to immature people, uneducated people. It's not cool. It's not cool to use profanity. Why? Because you don't need to express yourself like that in front of other people. Like, it's just, you don't need to. Like, there's a way to express yourself fine. And don't get me wrong, there's, I guess, a time and place if you really want to look at it like that. I guess so. But in my personal preference, since God has changed my heart, I'm more worried about what he thinks of me than the world. So yes, I prefer to not use profanity. And it made me laugh because, like, that's the only thing he noticed, right? And it seems like unreal and like just not right. But why? How can you tell a person from like a person like me, right, that was completely on the left side and is now completely on the right side, anything? I know God is real. I know what Jesus Christ did for me. Like, I know how much I've changed. I know that I don't use profanity. I know I don't cheat no more. I know I don't watch porn no more. There's a lot of things that I know that God has changed in my life, but the only way I could show men like me is by walking the walk and talking the walk. And this is why I share. You know, I get messages sometimes, people talking crap that, oh, it changed the story already, changed the channel. I think that person needs to change the channel because I'm just recording so you could see that change. I'm going to say it again, like a broken record. Did happen. And it happened in me. And it happens in a lot of people that believe. Life is a big school. That's the way I look at it. It's a big school. And it's a hard one because the crashes, the bumps, the fires, like everything that happens along the way is something like skills that you have to learn really fast to make it. And sometimes you won't. You'll explode and have to start all over again. You know, sometimes you won't make it. But if you do pick up the skills and learn, most of all from your mistakes, you will become unstoppable. You will. And that just means, and it doesn't mean it like in a way that you're, people nowadays think that the big win is to be popular, have millions, be famous on social media. That's what most people thrive for. That's what most people think that success is. They have it wrong. You know, and I get people that talk crap about this too because they say, oh, you know, people that don't have it are the ones that say it. Well, guess what? I had it, and it didn't make anything better for me. Did it make life easier where I don't ever remember being worried about rent or stuff like that? Yeah. But I wasn't happy. And I had this big black hole in my heart that just kept getting bigger and bigger. If I would have not received that heart transplant 2 years ago, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. I know the OJC. I know the OJC. I know him well. And I know his bad habits. And I know that he really didn't have too many skills. He really didn't have too many life skills. He really didn't have too many. He didn't even believe in himself. He had imposter syndrome. Yes, I know the OJC. This is why there's nothing that you could tell me that could change my walk or change my goal or my purpose, because I know that I went through everything I went through to be able to help somebody like me. Yesterday at the prison with those women, slowly but surely, you know, they're starting to like glow, shine. They pray when they come in. Yesterday, my wife was doing, you know, personal prayers with them, sitting down on a one-on-one basis and, you know, asking them, what skill can we teach you to make your life better? Even in prison. I told them, even in prison, they're going to have some of the biggest, they're going to impact lives. Because they're going to get all the youngsters that go in there for 60, 90 days. They're going to impact lives. So these skills have to be taught so they could teach them. It's about teaching people to make tents so everybody has a place to stay. And teaching people to learn to live and have joy. And most of all, live a life with God in it. Because if God's not in it, man, let me show you my past life. You know, I guess you could say these deep conversations, these videos, were for those people, the ones that need to hear it. The ones out there still thinking that there is no hope. Because, man, I was out there. I was out there smoking crack. I was out there drinking. I was out there driving drunk. I don't even know how I survived those 2 years driving a motorcycle, honestly. If you look at my record, I have like 3 DUIs in that short amount of time. Went to prison. And I would drive all the way out to Maricopa City. It's about an hour and a half drive. Drunk. And the crazy part is that I was in and out of prison. I was always mad. I was miserable. In and out of relationships. But I thought that was normal. I thought that I was living the best life ever. That's the crazy part. And it's because we don't have the skills to know how to be happy or learn how to get there to be happy, because sometimes you have to get there. It takes you a little bit of time. Not everybody's going to wake up and be like, oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Nah. You didn't make yourself miserable in 1 year, 1 second. Like, it took years. Years of scars, years of trauma, years of betrayal, years of pulling out that knife from your back. You know, it took years. But I can tell you one thing, and that's for a fact, that when I got on my knees and God got a hold of me, in a matter of seconds, my heart changed. And I started to learn new skills. And today, I say to me, I'm successful because I get to go home. I'm not rich. And we barely make it because I volunteer more than I work. But my heart, my relationship with my wife is thriving. My relationship with God is thriving. I feel joy. I feel happiness. I feel it tangible now for me to be able to keep it long term. And these were all skills that I learned. Yeah. Man, today got deep. Maybe because it was Friday. I didn't do no workout stuff, no motivation. No, I guess the motivational stuff, yeah. But you know, that's the thing about these like raw and uncut videos that are not planned, not papered out, is that I was going to come in and talk about a whole different thing, but I mean, I guess we covered some of the gang stuff. We covered some of the motivational stuff, my walk. Raw, uncut, unfiltered, no thumbnails, no scripted videos, just plain old, just raw, uncut JC, real talk. Hey, don't judge nobody. Stay in your lane, live savage, and remember, live for him. And if you need some skills, get a hold of me. I'll catch you guys on the rebound.